The year is 1914. Europe, a continent of empires, teeters on the brink of a chasm. A web of alliances, rivalries, and ambitions has been spun for decades. In the heart of this tension lies a single, fatal spark. In Sarajevo, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary ignites the powder keg of Europe. A cascade of ultimatums and mobilizations follows. Diplomacy fails. One by one, the great powers of the world, bound by their pacts, are drawn into a conflict they believe will be over by Christmas. Declarations of war echo across capitals. Millions of young men, filled with patriotic fervor, flock to enlist. They are celebrated as heroes embarking on a great adventure. On crowded platforms, they wave goodbye to their loved ones, board in trains that will carry them to the front lines. The cheering crowds are unaware that they are sending a generation into the maw of an unprecedented industrial slaughter. The old world is about to vanish forever, replaced by the roar of cannons and the cold reality of modern warfare. On the Western Front, the dream of a swift victory dies in the mud. A vast, unbroken line of trenches stretches from the Swiss border to the North Sea. Life becomes a grim cycle of waiting, enduring, and attacking. Soldiers live in squalor, surrounded by rats, disease, and the constant threat of death. Over the top, they charge into a hellscape of barbed wire and machine gun fire. The sky is torn apart by artillery shells, turning verdant fields into cratered, lifeless moonscapes. This is not the glorious war they were promised. Meanwhile, the conflict rages far beyond France and Belgium. On the vast Eastern Front, armies clash across immense territories in a war of movement and brutal attrition. Russia's massive military machine grinds against the forces of Germany and Austria-Hungary, with staggering casualties on both sides. To the south, the Ottoman Empire enters the fray, closing critical sea lanes and opening new fronts in the Middle East and the Caucasus. The Great War is now truly a world war, pulling in nations from every corner of the globe. The skies themselves become a battlefield. Giant Zeppelin airships, silent and menacing, rain bombs on cities, bringing the war home to civilians for the first time. In frail biplanes made of wood and fabric, daring pilots engage in dogfights, inventing aerial combat as they go. On the ground, a new monster of war rumbles into action: the tank. These steel beasts, impervious to bullets, are designed to break the deadlock of the trenches, heralding a new age of mechanized warfare. The war becomes a relentless meat grinder, defined by battles of unimaginable scale and horror. At Verdun, French and German armies bleed each other white for 10 months in a desperate struggle for a single fortress city. On the Somme, the British Army suffers its deadliest day in history, with nearly 60,000 casualties on the first day alone. At Gallipoli, Allied forces are pinned down on the beaches by determined Ottoman defenders in a costly and ultimately failed campaign. After 4 long years, the empires that began the war are collapsing. Revolution in Russia, exhaustion in Austria-Hungary, and starvation in Germany pave the way for the end. With the arrival of fresh American troops, the final Allied push proves unstoppable. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, the guns finally fall silent. The armistice is signed. Soldiers emerge from their trenches into a shattered world of destroyed cities and barren landscapes. The Great War left an indelible scar upon the world. Over 20 million people, soldiers and civilians, were dead. For empires, the Russian, German, Austro-Hungarian, and Ottoman had ceased to exist. The map of Europe and the Middle East was redrawn, creating new nations and sowing the seeds of future conflicts. The war to end all wars had failed in its promise, instead setting the stage for an even more destructive struggle just 2 decades later. Its legacy is a solemn reminder of the human cost of conflict and the fragility of peace. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.